now that we said all that, we can start recording. Yeah. Can you make sure that I'm boxed up?
Yeah, let's box you.
Getting boxy with it. Nah.
Get boxy with it. What a musical genius of our time.
That was Will, right?
Yeah, that was Will. You go back and you watch The Fresh Prince and you go, wow, no wonder why everyone loved Will Smith back in the 90s and stuff. And like Independence Day, I loved him in that movie.
And then he slaps one guy and everybody hates him.
You slap one guy and the whole world turns on you.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 with the link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I am Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about a few different things. A tournament we most recently had. We're going to breeze through Amsterdam ever so slightly. And then we have 5-color piles. We're going to talk about some of the 5-color piles in cEDH, the one good one, the several not so good ones, and all about it. I guess there's kind of two that are like pretty good actually right now. There's one new one that we'll get to. It's Nick Fury. That's the other one. I don't know why I have this pet peeve when podcasters like, we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's not deviate. No, please deviate. That's what I like about the podcast. Say Nick Fury, the good ones, and then there's other ones.
So we're going to talk about those two decks and a couple of other decks.
So that's the whole fucking podcast, and that's it. Don't cough. What would you like to talk about first? We do Amsterdam first, since we're not going to say much. Like, it was lovely. It was wonderful. Everyone was super polite and nice.
It was so nice and polite. We had an awesome time at the con. We did Scry Babies Live, which I thought went very well. We did the podcast, which I thought went very well, too.
Everything's recording, right?
Everything's recording.
Do a double check. I just got scared.
Recording.
Okay, yeah. Podcast went really lovely, like you said. The room seemed like, from our perspective, it seemed like it was sold out. I think that means...
When we say sold out, no one bought tickets. You didn't have to have a wristband or anything.
There was all the seats were filled, it seems like. I think it was around 200 people.
Max capacity?
Nice.
You didn't even say it.
Yeah, we did the podcast. We did the gameplay. Jim from the Spike Feeder was there replacing Tori this time. We had a meet and greet, which was also very lovely. Yeah, everyone was super nice. We played some games at the Dragon Shield booth. Some of my first games playing with Shang-Chi, and it made me realize, oh, this card's better than I even fucking thought.
Oh my god, yeah, that was my first experience losing against Shang-Chi quite a lot and wishing that I had it.
Yeah, since they can win a lot quicker, there's like a couple of lines that it enables. The one main one that's kind of obvious for the Shang-Chi, I can just like real quick deviate, is like...
It sounds like we're talking about the 5-color decks
thing
first.
Right now. Yeah. You can win off for like 9 mana and nothing else. Just like find Shang-Chi, find Savala, win the game. It's really
a great place for the deck to be able to pivot off of now then too, right? Like just having more doors open for the deck is just insanely scary for everyone else at the table.
Yeah, it felt... You were playing Crystal a lot, which I think was why I was able to win a couple games, because Crystal's very sloppy, and I think Sisay is like really good into that slot meta.
Slop up really well.
I had a game at Locals yesterday where two decks, you and another deck, both had literally like 20 cards in your hand, but I untapped with 20 mana, and I was able to activate Sisay like 4 times. And it didn't matter. You have 1 or 2 bounce spells, but like I can just activate again over top.
We're trying to like use a Vampiric Tutor to find another removal spell, but like, then like just activate on top again. Yeah.
I had 1 card in my hand that I ended up winning the game, and you guys both had like 20 cards in hand, a Smothering Tide, a whole bunch of shit, and it just didn't matter because how many bounce spells could you have? There's only so many, right?
I had none. All my cards were really bad.
You had a bunch of counter spells probably.
I had no blue cards. I was staring at no blue cards. Yeah, that Noxious Revival was like the only thing I could do.
That was also partly because you force of willed my Sisay the turn prior, and I was able to not only Swan Song back, you had another counter spell for that, and then I just had so much mana that I just recast Sisay again.
Which felt so bad. But at the same time, like this was like the only thing that I could do, because otherwise you were gonna have Sisay hit play, and then you still had 5 mana. That's an activation.
It made sense for you to do that. It just felt really good for me as a Sisay player to know that like it doesn't matter. All you do is delay the inevitable, and then I like searched my library twice, and I found like Kinnan and Lotho, not even combo pieces. Yeah, it was great. Sisay's awesome right now.
So sweet, yeah.
Amsterdam was good. We did some canal tours. We stayed a couple days afterwards.
The Amsterdam dungeon.
The dungeon was fun.
So much fun.
They kept on picking on me. They like choose someone from the crowd, and they're like,
it was always you.
Yeah, they picked at me like several different people picked on me.
They also picked on Rachel like twice, which was also very ironic.
I think it's because I wanted to get to the front, and then Rachel looked scared. So they're like, guy in front, scared girl. Let's make fun of them more than once. Yeah. But yeah, Amsterdam was super great. Can't wait for the next MagicCon, which is Atlanta coming up soon.
Atlanta, yeah. I mean, we're also doing Cool Stuff Con that's coming up too. So
on Halloween.
Are you dressing up for Cool Stuff Con?
I wasn't planning on it, but now I'm thinking maybe I should.
Now I feel like I've pigeonholed us into this, but 100% of the time, in the past 5 years, 100% of times that I've said I will dress up, I do not dress up.
Yeah, maybe we should just do like face paint, something easy so we don't have to bring a whole costume.
Face paint, something easy.
Yeah.
That's an oxymoron
Something
in
easy.
itself. Oh, that should be easy, yeah.
That's a good
We
joke
fell
for
asleep,
sure.
Yeah. I want to talk about the tournament that we just did because
Let's
we
talk
have
about the
some
tournament.
very exciting news.
I won!
Dylan won! Yeah, we're not just a bunch of dopes anymore. We're officially...
Well, no, we're still dopes. I just got some decent pairings, and yeah, Rockside's really good is what it is.
Rockside's really good, yeah. Tell me a little bit about your time this weekend.
Yeah, so I have some things written down. You want to go round by round, or how do you want to do it? I can give the overlay first, or is it better to build a little suspense and go round by round?
Well, we already said that you won, so
yes,
there's no really suspense. We can still go, talk about each round that you did, yeah.
I'm going to read my little tiny paragraph that I wrote, and then I'll see if I can translate it to mean anything. Round 1, Thrasios, Timna, me on Rogside, Rocco, and... Oh, shoot, I wrote rap. What do you think rap means?
Ral?
Ral. Oh yeah, that definitely means Ral, yeah. I went at Mulligan to 3 right away. I kept Dark Ritual, Fetchland, Vexing Bauble. That was the keep. Hope that I find something. I start Vexing Bauble to slow everything down. I have land and Rhystic Study eventually. I make a deal with Ral to not use their first interaction I draw for him to stop Rocco. I have to use Snapback on Ral instead, so like a different piece of interaction. My Rhystic Study gets stolen. Rocco goes for a win. Ral has interaction, but has to use Flashback with LED, so won't use it unless we draw. I know Timna Thras has Silence and Misstep, which beats my Vampiric Tutor plus Misstep. I tell Rocco I could Vamp Tutor for interaction, so he can't just win on his turn again. Timna Thras has nothing for Kiki, just more grind, so he has to take the draw. Start the day off on a draw, which is honestly okay for me because I mulligan to 3, and winning on mulligan to 3 is kind of tough even with rock size, so I'll take a draw there.
At least you got a point out of that one.
At least I got a point out of that one. Do you want to go to your round next, or should I just go through mine? Because you also did pretty well.
I did pretty well too, yeah. I'm not going to spoil how well I did, though.
Yours will be a surprise.
Yeah, but I will say that the day started off pretty good. I was on a tally, and I was going last in the first game, which is not really great, but I had a pretty decent hand. But I was going up against a Kefka that had a turn 1 Necropotence, and they did 3 turns actually worth of mini Necros for 10 or something, and ended up never finding anything good to help them push. At one point, they Cabal Ritualed early before they Necroed, and I think that ended up messing up their mana. They had a bunch of red and blue cards then, and just had Lion's Eye Diamond, but didn't have anything to do because they would have discarded their whole hand. So I ended up getting a 3rd turn, which allowed me to re-Atali and then officially win that game.
So you started off the day on a win.
A pretty lucky win. I had to beat an Ad Nauseam that kind of went to nowhere, and I also had to convince a player to not cast Damping Sphere as well.
Yeah.
Because that would have messed me up entirely. And I had to say, I don't want you to cast it. My argument was, well, Kefka just going to find a bounce spell, and then they'll just bounce Dampening Sphere, and then they're still going to win. So it's not actually going to do anything. You might as well progress yourself a little bit more. I don't want you to do that. Yeah. And so they ended up not doing that, and that's what allowed me to then Atali and win.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll take it.
For my second round, I played against Timna Dargo, Tivit, Nick Fury, and me. I kept 4, Dark Ritual again, City of Traders, Ad Nauseam, Pyroblast, which is pretty good, except I need to find a mana source. Tivit goes for, this is what I wrote down, I don't know what this means. Tivit goes for it. Oh, Tivit goes for it. That's what it means. I think at this point it was turn 3. I wasn't able to find the stuff for an early Nas. The table talks to get Valley Floodcaller to resolve from Nick Fury to get a top deck tutor for interaction after the table uses everything. So they're using everything to stop the Tivit. They basically all agree that they don't have anything, so they're going to use this top deck tutor to find something because there's a Rhystic Study, and the other player will allow them to trigger the Rhystic Study and draw the interaction. So with the Mindbreak Trap that was found off the Vampiric Tutor on the stack, and the table says they have nothing, I have the mana then at that point to try to cast Ad Nauseam over top of all of that other shit after everyone's talked so much, except there's a Rhystic Study in play. I cast Dark Ritual, the Nick Fury player draws off of the Rhystic Study. It's exactly Mental Misstep. They Mental Misstep, they stop the Tivit player from winning. My one little tiny window that I thought was going to be there ends up not being there, and then Nick Fury untaps and wins the game. So I start the day off 0-1-1, which is not a good spot.
No.
How about your round 2?
Round 2 was interesting. I was going second up against a Godo who slammed Void Mirror on turn 1. One of my other opponents was Zuluduk, which now can't do anything because whenever a player casts a spell, if no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So that basically means that there's a Mindbreak Trap in play for all of the Atalis that I go through. We end up taking a bunch of turns where we kind of have to use a Bergie from a Blue Farm player, the flip side, the Harnfell, to end up trying to find enough interaction for Godo to not win, but they kept the hand because of the turn 1 Void Mirror, so they're already not as quick as Godo, I feel really should be. So we end up getting enough time where I'm able to use my 7 mana to slam down Chandra, the 7 mana Chandra. And of course, by this point, Godo already has Hammer of Nazan, so I can't even minus Chandra to like wipe the board and send him back either. I have to kind of rely on the +1 ability of making a bunch of mana, looking at 3 cards, and then choosing one, and I can cast that this turn to try to get a little bit of value here. But wouldn't you know it, I end up drawing into Dualcaster Mage at one point. And my plan against Godo then is, well, if they end up twin flaming their Godo to try to win, I can, in response, Dualcaster Mage, make infinite Dualcasters, and now I have blockers. I don't think Godo can beat infinite blockers, even if they take out the other player, because every time you go through a Godo thing, you only make 1 Godo, right?
Right.
So if I have infinite and you don't have infinite?
The thing that attacks doesn't actually matter. Once it attacks, they get another combat. So it doesn't actually have to connect. They just attack with the token copy of Godo or whatever, and once they attack, they get another.
So you're not attacking with the original Godo that has the
No, you attack
Helm
with the new Godo token every time.
That's what I'm getting confused
I'm pretty
about.
sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. What the fuck does Helm say?
I just typed in Helm.
Oh, that's got to be a horror.
Helm of the Host. At the beginning of combat of your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary.
Oh, okay.
So at the beginning of each combat, you make a new Godo, and that Godo can attack you, and then new Godo can attack you.
I see. So you never have to attack with the original Godo. I think I was under the impression that they had to attack with the original Godo, and then I'm like, well, then I have, so what then?
Right, yeah, but I think because you can't actually make infinite, you must make a number, make 1 billion or whatever, and they can just attack you 1,010,000,000 times.
All right, okay, so that makes sense.
Either way, none of that shit matters because
if I just find my own Twin Flame first, I can just win the game with my Dualcaster Mage.
That's why it's good.
That's why it's good, right?
Yeah.
So with Chandra in play, I actually have access to 4 cards a turn, essentially, but I only can cast 2 of them, and
eventually found Twin Flame.
I play so many of them that I found my own Heat Shimmer first and won the game.
2-0, good start.
2-0, good start.
0-1-1, bad start.
Yeah.
And then we swap.
Look at us go. Yeah, here we go.
Things start turning around for me next round. So round 3, it's me going seat 1, which is great. Roxai auto win. Nick Fury, Raph and Mikey, and Kinnan. So it's great seeing Raph and Mikey. That deck is cool. I get to not care about it while I'm playing Roxai, thankfully, which is really great. I have a turn 1 fish, drew a bunch of cards. It was like all interaction, so I couldn't push until turn 4, but I was like confident to like not stretch for a push early because I had so much interaction. Kinnan used it an offer you can't refuse on the Raph and Mikey because they were going to be able to cast Raph and Mikey, and then the offer was going to be no good after that. We get to my turn. I was able to like gamble for Necropotence, do a Necro, have a bunch of mana. I already had Born Upon the Wind and 100 counterspells in my hand, so I just drew the mana to do everything else, and then I won on turn 4, which is pretty luckily. But I kind of felt like it was just like a good pot for me. I was in seat 1, and I had a turn 1 fish and just like a bunch of interactions, so I felt like once I was able to push, no one was going to stop me, and yeah, it was a fish win, not an early win. It was like turn 4, something like that. So then now I'm 1-1-1 going for the rest of the day.
Nice. That's a great spot to be so far. Yeah, you can feel pretty good about going into the next rounds, but you still need at least 1 more win.
Yeah, at this point, because 12 points will normally lock you at top 16 for our size tournaments. I think that's often the case for a lot of tournaments.
I noticed for this one, everyone that had 11 points got into top 16.
Everyone did.
Yeah.
Normally just a couple 11 points get in.
Normally, but
yeah.
I think maybe we didn't have exactly 96 people this time, so I think that ended up like, maneuvering the math a little bit differently then. Yeah.
But I'm into the impression that at 12 points in will lock me in at this point.
Because it will.
Yeah. 12 points always locks you in.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was your round 3?
Round 3 was interesting because I got a draw.
Nice.
We ended up having to scare an Ob Nixilis player into not going for a win because there was enough interaction where I was going to win then if they continued to do what they did. My win line is not guaranteed. So I will, when I start the day off with 2 wins, and I'm in a spot where I could take a draw, I will still take that draw in a tally right there. I started getting to that point where I was like totally okay with Blue. It wasn't Blue Farm. It was like the Clue Farm version of Blue Farm. But I was totally okay with them threatening to put the game into a draw because there was no way that they were going to win. And I would rather, like I said, come out of this game with a point. It was a really good Ob Nixilis game though. They got Ob out really early. They had the Goblin card, the Harry Osborn, the Norman Osborn card that whenever you cast a card from exile, you ping.
Oh, that's really good.
It's such an insane engine in Ob Nixilis. Yeah, I think it's been a great tool for it. So
yeah, that makes sense the way you play like that to just take the draw because you're playing to win the tournament, not necessarily the individual game. So it doesn't actually matter how many games you win. Your goal is to get to top 16 and then win the actual tournament. I will say this is a little bit of a sneak peek. The higher you are in seat order means the higher you get to play in seat in top 16 and the finals pod, which for turbo decks is is a huge deal. But still, at the end of the day, your goal is just to get to top 16 so that you can get to the finals.
I mean, at the time, I was still like number 2 in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, my standings were still great. There, even after this game, there weren't a lot of tables that had 2 wins still.
Right, and if you don't think you can win that game, a draw is obviously better than a loss.
At this point, I agree. It was just more about like trying to get to the top 16 so I can win the tournament.
Yeah, my round 4, I played against Shang-Chi, Arkham Daxum, me, and then Obnixilis, this is also another good pod for me because although Shang-Chi in the command zone is cool, powerful effect, I don't know if this is right. Any like time it's like a monocolor deck that doesn't have like blue or white for Rogside, that's a buy. You can't do anything against me. Not necessarily like I'm going to win, but like I don't have to think about what you do at all because none of what you do actually interacts with me. You have Endurance and Force of Vigor, but oftentimes those cards are actually not very good against Rogside. By the time that they're relevant, if you're trying to get rid of the Underworld Breach or Endurance when Underworld Breach is already out, that means Underworld Breach is out, which means my whole graveyard is live, which means I have access to like so many cards or whatever. And Obnixilis can be good against specifically Necrophones because I give them a lot of cards. It's also, I learned in this game, I don't know if I learned, but like remembered, if you resolve an Ad Nauseam, every 1-drop that you hit, once your Ad Nauseam finishes resolving, Obnixilis gets all of those triggers for all of those 1-drops.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Which can be kind of risky, but the game went like this. I had a turn 1 Imperial Seal for a Culling Ritual for a turn 2 Nas, which is like one of my favorite starts. Super easy to do, and you can get it 1,000 different ways. I go to 2 off of my Ad Nauseam on turn 2. I hit Force of Will and Misdirection right in a row, take 10 off of those 2 cards.
More than that, actually. Yeah, it's 12.
Misdirection is 5, and so is Force of Will.
You said, I was thinking of Commandeer.
No, not Commandeer. Yes.
Nice. Now I'm wrong about two really stupid things.
One more and you're out.
That's right. Yep.
So I end up having to add Nas to 2. So I go past my like 7 minimum of like, if I hit Commandeer, I'm dead. And I keep on going and I keep on going. And I go to 2 and I hit Rite of Flame. Stop on Rite of Flame. I have Lotus Petal, Rite of Flame for an extra turn. My goal at this point is to gamble for Breach. It'll be going to like my 3rd turn. So I have like Command Tower, Gamble, 2 leftover mana, Breach, and then I have the Lotus Petal and can win from there. So that's my goal. So on my extra turn, I keep Gamble, Land, and then like 5 counter spells basically. That's my keep going to the next one. Top deck, it's Underworld Breach.
Nice.
Super easy. I just like very luckily just like top deck the Underworld Breach on my final turn, cast the Underworld Breach, and then it's pretty easy from there. I just like Gamble, Lotus Petal, Bring Freeze, and then they all concede because the whole win is right there. It was nice to go from a Mystic Remora game where I like have to win on turn 4 and draw a bunch of cards and try to talk to the table a bunch, and then go right into a turn 2 win, which felt really great. So now I am 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. So now I didn't notice at the time, but that it was a lock for top 16. But now I'm thinking I need 1 more draw and I'm in the top 16. I got 11 points, so I'm in a good spot.
Which is where I was at too, but there was a player in my pod that didn't want to draw in my round 4, and they ended up winning the game too, so it actually worked out for them.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it was the Rocco player, although they did top deck Food Chain at the exact perfect opportune time.
Play to your outs.
Play to your outs, yeah, exactly.
You got 1 top deck, try to find it.
Try to find it, and they did. They put Squee underneath Chrome Mox on turn 1,
awesome.
so it was just like perfectly set up. And this is like right after last week's episode. We recorded it at the beginning of July, and we said, who plays Rocco in cEDH? And then, boom, there we go.
I do remember I played against this Rocco pilot in my first pod where we were able to get a draw. They were a very good pilot. They knew their deck pretty well, and I had to talk to the table constantly because that deck Rocco can win from like anything. There's so many different spots where they have definitive win, which is good and bad. It's good because like your deck can win from a lot of spots. That's good, but it's bad because the table needs to do something at all times against you, which is bad because it soaks up interaction from other players. You can't do anything else. The Rocco player doesn't grind. You can't pivot to Ristic Study or Mystic Remora. You can win the game or you cannot win the game. So I had to talk to the whole table. I feel the whole time. He can win from right here. He can win from here, so we all have to like team up to stop it.
I was trying to do the same thing. I was like, the Vexing Bobble does not stop him at all. He's not worried about this Vexing Bobble. It does not help. We need to get rid of that Vexing Bobble so that we can interact with Rocco.
So that Atala can do stuff.
So I mulligan to like Oblivion in that game too. It was a pretty rough mull that I had, but it was still wild. I think it was this game. I was on a mull to 3, and I still had a turn 3 and a turn 4 Atali attempt.
Nice.
But just they couldn't get there, unfortunately.
It stinks when you're at, what was your pod? And if one of them is Rocco, there are some decent hits, but there's not a lot of great hits.
Another one was Obnixilis, which just have, again, some
tutors,
decent hits. But that's, every deck has tutors, right? Like, I hit pingers a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, a lot of bad cards, too. Because I feel like the black decks are good because they have a high density of, like, Demonic Tutor, Praetor's Grasp, Diabolic Intent, things that can get you Food Chain right away, but they also have that high density of, like, fucking the pingers, whatever they are. You know what I mean?
That otter, that, like, whenever I cast a 9 creature, it deals with damage.
Guard,
Like, this is not helpful to me at all. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 rounds. Oh, we're off to the 5th round. Last round of the tournament already.
We have the same record, 2-1-1 right now. And then we get paired up in round 5.
And then we get paired up in round 5. And I remember this is a little bit of a mind thing that I remember thinking, like, when I started the day off, I was like 0-1-1, and I remember thinking, it doesn't matter, I'll just win my next game. Doesn't matter, I'll just win my next game. And like I was trying to get in that mindset of like, it doesn't matter how I do because I'm just gonna win my next game. I was so confident in the ability to win in the next game. Part of that was because, little deviation, I had one coaching session. The first time I ever did a coaching session, which I don't think that is a coincidence that I did one coaching session and then won a tournament. But I did a coaching session with Dexter, who is like arguably the best Roxai player in the world, at least by like tournament results. He wins so much with Roxai and other decks too. He's a great pilot. But we talked for like an hour about Roxai. He had a lot of great points, and there was a lot of things that I took from him that I was able to like use in the thing. Just like little stuff of just like being able to be okay with not pushing, being able to, like in this next pod, I was able to like talk an opponent into letting me resolve a Mystic or more rather than going for a win. And that Mystic or more ended up winning the game. We were playing against you and Atali. I think you were going first, then me, then Malcolm Kedis, and then I don't even know the name of this commander. It was like black, red, Final Fantasy wizard shit. That's what I wrote down.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It basically, like at the beginning of your end step, you create a 0/1 that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deal 1 damage to each opponent.
And then when you flip the commander, it doubles the amount of damage.
Doubles. And then there's like wizard doublers. So basically he was able to get to a point where he has like 2 of those things out, and then each spell deals us all like 8 damage
because of Harmonic
like
Prodigy and the commander being in play. Yeah.
So this is what I have written down. You can tell me how far this is away from what you have in your brain. I have a turn 2 bunch of mana with Jessica's Will, Tainted Pack, Brain Freeze, and LED. So I have like the way to just like Tainted Pack for Underworld Breach or Ad Nauseam or whatever and be able to win the game pretty easily. But I get Taxium Probe, the Malcolm Kedis player, and I am revealed that they have Commandeer, Disrupting Shoal, and then 3 other blue cards. So they have the ability to both Commandeer and Disrupting Shoal me all together. So I go, oh, fuck, I can't win from that. What the fuck do I do? I ask if he'd let me Tainted Pack for a Mystic Remora. I remember asking if I could Tainted Pack for a Ristic Study, and he said no. And I said, okay, what if I got a Mystic Remora instead? And he goes, I guess that's okay, because I kind of like said, like, we're gonna die to this Rakdos player, we're gonna die to Atali, like, I don't want you to use up your interaction here. I'm gonna Tainted Pack Lion's Eye Diamond, discard my entire hand. Is a Mystic Remora with no cards in hand good for you? And he said, yeah, I would want to keep my interaction if that's the case. So we do that, sit behind the fish for a while. It feeds me a bunch of cards. I say I'm playing for a draw, which I was playing for a draw at that point because I had 11 points and I knew 12 points would lock me. So I kind of tell the table, like, I'm willing to just stop everyone's wins and have us go to a draw. That's kind of like my goal right now. Fortunately for me, and I think unfortunately for you, the Rakdos player can't take a draw. They had 10 points and they were under the impression that I guess now knowing that all the 11s did made it, although if one more 11 made it, maybe that wouldn't have been the case.
That's also true, yeah.
Right? But he was in the impression, he's like, I can't draw. If I draw, I'm not making top 16, so a draw does me nothing, so there's no reason for me to take a draw. So we say, okay. He burns us out a bunch, and you have a Treasonous Ogre, which gets you to a point where you go to 3 life. He's able to cast a spell and knock you out of the game. And then at this point, the Malcolm Kedis player has already 12 points, so they don't even need to win or draw. They can lose and they still get into top 16, and the Rakdos player can't draw. They have to win the game. So I continue to tell the Malcolm Kedis player, like, hey, don't cast your Vexing Bauble. I need my free interaction. I'll stop the Rakdos player from winning. I'm playing for a draw right now. At the end, I end up Vampiric Tutoring for Breach, and then on my turn, I have Fierce and Misstep and show the Malcolm player that he has that, and he doesn't end up fighting the Breach, and I end up winning the game. And the Rakdos says, well, weren't you drawing the game? And I say, I will still draw the game. This is how I ask for a draw. I'm putting a win on the stack. If you say you want to draw, I will accept the draw and we can draw the game. The Rakdos player was hoping that the draw would basically bite me in the ass and he'd be able to win because of that. Not in a bad way. He was being like, he was good about it. And I think rightfully so. He asked, like, I thought we were playing for a draw, and I was saying, this is how I play for a draw. I put a win on the stack. You say you want to take a draw, and I say yes. And then neither of them said that, so I said, okay, I'll just go for the win instead.
Yeah, because he still knew that like a draw doesn't get him into top 16. So actually going for a draw
doesn't help him. He needs me to fight for the draw and then it not work out for me. And then he's got like a burn deck, so he can just like cast some spells that doesn't matter if they resolve, and he can deal me the damage, but I was able to win like just before he was able to.
Yeah, like he needs you to like have to Ad Nauseam again or Necropotence again so that he can just cast like one more spell and then it takes you out.
And luckily I just didn't need to that game. I just went for Natural Breach because I drew a bunch of cards. I had a full graveyard from earlier with the Lion's Eye Diamond and shit.
Yeah.
Mystic Remora. So like I didn't actually need to use my life total that game, and you did. So that was kind of like lucky that like you had to use Treasonous Ogre and I didn't have to use Necro, so I was able to win that game.
I think the only other thing is that the Malcolm Kedis player also had a Mystic Remora for a bunch bunch of the game until a very crucial point where they decided that they had to get Malcolm out. And that, I think, also kind of swayed a lot more into like, well, now I feel a little bit more comfortable pushing. You felt a little bit more comfortable, after I was gone, then being able to, try to do your push for a draw win thing and then kind of take it from there.
Which is great for me because I won that game, which now puts me at 16 points, which means that I have the highest seed in the tournament, which means that going into top 16 and the final spot, I will be seed 1 because I have the highest seed, which is really good for Rockside.
So we both made top 16.
What was your final? Oh, no, I was going to ask, what was your fifth game?
That was the fifth game. Yeah, I lost to you. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, we both made top 16. My top 16 pod rather. Should I go over now?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Seat 1, I have me, Rog Blackgreen, Rog Rayhan was going seat 2, then Crystal, and then another Rogside pilot. So I knew that this was going to be a fast game, just like try to keep the fastest turn that I had. I had turn 1, Land, Soul Ring, Manavolt, Mox Opal, End Step, Vampiric Tutor, which is great. Shit ton of mana and a tutor. It's exactly what I want. The Vampiric Tutor gets misstep, but I actually also have Demonic Tutor in my hand. So I was able to untap Demonic Tutor for ad nauseum. I have 7 mana on my turn 2, so I just Demonic Tutor ad nauseum.
Perfect.
I get extra turn, Praetor's Grasp. I Praetor's Grasp the Rockside player. He's got 2 cards in hand. One of them is the Underworld Breach that I was looking to Praetor's Grasp for, which stinks, but at that point I was able to make enough mana that I just took his Demonic Tutor out of his deck and then cast the Demonic Tutor to find the Underworld Breach out of my deck, and then I had Underworld Breach win from there, and I was on that game, which is really great because the Rog Rayhan deck had a turn 2 win as well. I just was seat 1, and finishing the tournament in highest seed was really good for me there.
That's the same thing that happened in my pod too, was that we were in a pod that was all Naya. There was no blue, there was no black in it, so already going in, I felt really bad because I'm up against Sylvala, green-white Sylvala, which has no good flips for me. I'm up against Rocco, which has a food chain, which is going to be pretty good, but that's 1 card in the deck. And then Lumra, which is also no good flips for me. All I can do is fuck up their deck by exiling a bunch of their lands.
What a weird, different turbo experience, because like that pod that you described is my dream pod for Rockside. There's no blue cards. I don't have to care about anything. It doesn't matter. Like the only thing that I have to care about is like silence effects out of Sylvala, and like technically you could be faster than me. Like I would also have to care about that a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I think at this point, like, I didn't really hit like a lot of slop decks throughout the whole tournament. So like I didn't really like have a ton of what I think are like amazing matchups overall. I think I ended up getting pretty lucky that I found a dual caster mage win early on. I think I got pretty lucky that my opponent couldn't win off of a Necropotence kind of early on. So looking at the whole day, Atali didn't really like have a good day. I got pretty lucky very early in the tournament when it mattered most, because if we had more players, then like my tiebreakers would have guaranteed that I made top 16 no matter what with my record. But at the same time, like it kind of highlighted like Atali's spot in the meta is really dependent on the other decks that are in the meta. And if you're going to go up against like Lumra in the top 16, it's not going to be helpful. And the Lumra player had the God Hand.
When they have that nuts start with like Amulet of Vigor, I'm sure was involved.
Yeah,
right?
and
like,
they had Lotus Field too, so that they could like get Lumra out and then like get a couple lands in their graveyard. It was very easy for them to tutor for Sylvan Safekeeper and just win the game extremely easily.
Yeah, that luck thing though, like that's part of Magic, is though like you get lucky and like being able to capitalize on the luck that when you're given it, like that's part of the game, and like that's why you're a good player. It's like because you were given a lucky situation and you were able to find a win. Like the dual caster thing was kind of lucky, but also the Void Mirror thing is kind of unlucky. And you had Chandra, so you were looking at a lot of cards, which gave you more opportunities to be lucky. Like that's what the game is like finding where there are moments for luck to be, being aware of it, trying to make the luck happen, and like giving yourself more opportunities to be lucky.
It's like trying to fish for a rock slide flinch in a game of VGC, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't feel as good as like a skill win,
right?
But when you get the luck, you still need luck in order to get there in games.
If I'm fast and I click Rockside 3 times, there's a very good chance I'm gonna get a flinch, and that flinch is gonna give me enough window to actually win the game. Like
exactly,
that's part of it. Yeah.
But what I would like is a deck that is like, here's my window. Let's guarantee that we can push in this window and do something with this push that we have, and have a little bit more of a determination towards winning instead of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I just won the game off of this?
Rockside is kind of like that, but it's also kind of not. It does feel closer to definitive, but like when I cast Ad Nauseam on turn 2, there's a chance that I just hit fucking Commandeer and Misdirection Forcible and like the Nausea is bad. It's unlikely.
It's way more unlikely. No, you are right, but like it's still maximized for that to not happen. Whereas Atali does not have the way to maximize its chances in any direction, because if you try to, you're fucking up your deck in another way that you're lowering chances of something else happening then too.
There might be more of a balance. So you found a lot of luck with with Cream of the Crop recently, and I feel like more cards
you know
like
what?
that.
I should have said this in about my game 1, but yeah, I
Cream
had
of the
turn
Crop was
1
good.
Cream of the Crop, and that card just sung so well.
Does it make you want to play? I know we talked about this a little before, but like Sensei's Divining Top, or like, does it make you want to try out other things like that? Maybe not top, but
maybe
like,
not. Yeah, maybe not top, but like if there's something else that I can get into play and for no additional mana, it can like help me sculpt the top of my library. It does feel like that's way more definitive right there.
right? Yeah, because like once you're looking at like 7 cards first and then choosing one of them on top and then like helping your flip, that can be a big deal. And then it makes your bad cards that you have to put in the deck to make your flips better, you put those to the bottom. You know what I mean? When you find the Sensei's top off the Cream of the Crop, that one's not the one that's staying on top, right? That's
it's just way easier to find a Twin Flame. It's way easier to find like an action piece that's going to get me a Twin Flame back from my graveyard, or like Gamble to help find Food Chain or something like that.
I feel like, yeah, that's what Italia is looking for right now, is like more Cream of the Crop.
That's really what it is.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
more
kinda
Cream of the Crop is kind of what I want. Yeah,
Yeah.
more cream for Italia, please. Yeah.
Finals pod.
Finals pod.
I'm going first again because the seed order thing, which is great for Rockside. It's me, Rogthras, Lumra, so bye, and then Ral.
There we go.
Ral is it's good and bad. I think that Ral is like a half step slower than Rockside, and they don't play a lot of interactions. Lumra runs effectively none. So what I have to worry about is the Rogthras, but I get to go before them, so that's a pretty good thing. And they mulligan to 5, which is also a very good thing. I have turn 1 Imperial Steel for Culling the Weak again. So I have turn 2 Culling the Weak, Cabal ad nauseum, which is great. It was kind of a weird way to like end the day because it was like a tough win that I ended up going a route that made things not as safe as they could be, if that makes sense. I have chain and offer my own snapback on a Ral in order to make 2 extra mana. But what I should have done is an offer you can't refuse on my Chromox so that I had an artifact in my graveyard so that I could Demonic Council for the Underworld Breach. I thought about that and I'm like, what if I just did the snapback thing again? I get to get an extra mana and then I don't have to burn a mana. And I kind of forgot that like, no, my goal is to get Demonic Council right here. So what I end up having to do is Tainted Pact instead. So I have to Tainted Pact for the Underworld Breach.
A little more risky.
A little bit more risky, and it just ends up getting lucky. I was able to Tainted Pact. I didn't exile anything that was important. I found the Underworld Breach, and then I won the game with that. There was just a moment where like I could have won in a little bit of safer way, and that could have bitten me in the ass because I offered the snapback and not a Chromox to put an artifact, the 4th card type in my graveyard.
And if you end up finding like Brain Freeze and Grinding Station before you find Underworld Breach, that could have been bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I did actually end up exiling Brain Freeze on the way. I just had enough mana to be able to Lion's Eye Diamond and then just naturally cast Tainted Pact and Thassa's Oracle from my graveyard.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Actually.
Yeah.
So it didn't actually matter. But for a second, as I was going, I was like, fuck, please don't let this bite me in the ass.
What am I supposed to do
like,
now?
I'm tired. It's late. It's the last game of the day. I went through a line one way, got lost in the sauce, and went the wrong way.
I'm
last
so
second,
close.
But
Come
I'm like so
on.
close. But it ended up being okay. I ended up winning the game. The Rockstars player didn't have any reaction. And yeah, I won the tournament. It was a great day.
That's so sweet.
I definitely got some luck. There was some luck involved for sure. I got to play against Lumra in the finals, which I love. I got to play against Shang-Chi at one point in the Swiss, which was great. That sounds like I'm like talking shit on those decks, but just from a Rockstar perspective, I just like seeing those decks because I don't think that they can do anything against me. And I was also out of that day, I won 5 times. 2 of them were from early fishes, and then 3 of them were from turn 2 ad nauseums. So when you can find ad nauseum on turn 2, 3 out of 7 times, that'll help you win a tournament really well. But that's what Rockside does, you know what I mean? So like that's why I put those cards in the deck, and that's why I play them, because I want to get lucky, and I can get lucky off ad nauseum. So yeah, I won the tournament.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Sweet. It sounds like we're going to go to the 5-color thing.
The 5-color topic was recommended by a patron of ours, yes?
Yes, exactly. Nathan Cohen was asking what we think the best good stuff, 5-color good stuff pile is in cEDH.
That's the whole question, yeah?
That's the whole question.
Do you have thoughts before I go off into a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's like 2 specific ones that kind of lead the pack off, but there's a lot of other options that like you could play. It just kind of depends on what you're, I'm going to say, looking to get out of the command zone, but I think there's like a couple things that just like reign supreme over other stuff.
The main thing that you get is small. The 5-color decks, they don't have a ton of like what you get out of it. My thoughts are Sisei is the best 5-color deck by far. It's not even close. But Sisei is often not a good stuff deck. Sisei is a Sisei deck.
Which is why I
it's different.
specifically only had Clam Chowder Sisei on this list in particular.
Which Clam Chowder is there is a version of Sisei that is just 5-color good stuff. You're playing Necropotence. There's really not much that Sisei is doing. She's kind of just there, one, I think, to like throw your opponents off. If they don't know you personally, they may think that you're on a slower version of Sisei, and psych, you have a turn 1 Necropotence, so like there's that little bit of a bonus to it, but also you're just 5-color good stuff, you just play all the good things, and then like every once in a while Lotho, I guess, could give you a couple of extra value because it makes Sisei big enough to find Teferi or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it still is a little bit on the legendary recruiter side of things, but you're not going to see like a lot of the same Sisei tutor chain lines that are winning the game. You're still going to see Underworld Breach way more frequently.
Right, yeah. As far as I know with the deck, they're basically playing 0 cards that other decks wouldn't also also play. Like Teferi is a card, maybe Teferi is the closest, but like other decks will play Teferi. Teferi is still a good card, and then like Lotho, every deck plays Lotho. Cabbage Merchant, every deck plays Cabbage Merchant.
It just ends up making it like a little bit of a slower build than, you know, some of the other more turbo 5-color good stuff versions that we've seen. Like, I think those originally started with like Nagila, the no bad cards list Nagila. Now that's kind of evolved into Nick Fury, I feel like. We already talked about how like we saw Nick Fury, or you saw Nick Fury a couple times in our tournament this past weekend, and just being 1 mana is just so much stronger than any of the other little upside than there's a bunch of other cards that are on here. We already said Nagila has upside because it's a combo piece.
You have one more combo in your deck,
right. You know, Terra lets you mill a couple of extra cards, and you might find like Smothering Tithe or Underworld Breach off of her trigger, but she also just fuels Underworld Breach really nicely.
I know in the past Ezio has seen some play just because it's the easiest. Before Nick Fury, it was the easiest to cast 5-color legend. It's just black and a colorless, and it turns your Mox Amber to make a black mana, which is pretty relevant for like a turbo fast deck. Like Mox Amber being Mox Jet is way better than it being Mox Pearl, which is the case in Nick Fury,
that
right?
like that Ezio is still in the top 3 and like it's still like just under Nick Fury for that reason. There is upside to, even though he's 2 mana, like you're getting more value out of the stuff that kind of works with your commander a little bit. But now that I think about it, it's really just Mox Amber that does that.
Kind of for the most part, yeah, that's kind of it. I know I've seen recently, we had on the channel, or I guess at this point it's coming up soon. It's not aired, but we played recently Esika, or is it Asika? I think it's Esika, but I want to say Asika every time. It's the green legends you control can tap for mana of any color. Mainly, I very rarely see that deck actually play Esika. They're an ad nauseum deck, but every once in a while, if they got nothing to do on turn 1 or turn 2, and they can just get an extra mana dork from the command zone, it's just a little bit of extra mana, that's fine, I think. I personally, at this point, I think Nick Fury is just better.
I think Nick Fury is just better. Yeah. Even like you could play Leonardo and Michelangelo.
That deck has actually popped off a little bit. I don't want to say popped off, but like it's done well. Those +1/+1 counters, they can add up if the game gets sloppy.
It's a lot of +1/+1 counters.
It really is.
And like you start giving them to like your Esper Sentinel. Now all of a sudden that is like way more difficult to pay for. And
it does do some stuff.
Yeah, especially with like the Cabbage Merchant and other like cards that are like generating a bunch of tokens for you too. It gets very scary. None of your board can get pinged down by Bowmaster. So like you were just like this ultimate kind of threat in both a quick sense and a board presence sense, depending on the direction the game needs to go in for you.
And like one like very microscopic but like also present thing, partners are good just because they're partners. Like not only like you getting 2 extra cards in your hand to start the game, but also starting with 98 versus 99 cards means you just get to cut your worst card. That sounds counterintuitive because most commander players think like more is better, and in a lot of senses more is better, but less can also sometimes be better too, because if you have 98 cards, like I said, you get to remove your worst card from the deck. The worst card is gone, so your deck is on average like better, right?
Yeah, because you have a higher chance of hitting Soul Ring in your opening hand now, because you have 1 fewer card, and that's what we're trying to do in Commanders. We're trying to optimize it, or at least in cEDH.
In cEDH specifically,
we're trying to optimize it so that we find the cards that we need to see every single game, like as often as possible. Like what makes Rogsai better than any other like 1-card Grixis deck, like Green Goblin, is that it's way easier for you to find Necropotence because the statistics are in your favor because you have less cards in your deck.
Yeah, there's many other things that makes Rogsai good, but yes, that is absolutely one of them.
That's like a big helpful part. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll say that.
Free Commander's good.
Yeah. Any Grixis pairing like that. Shut up.
There's also like Wandering Minstrel, which is not really a good stuff commander at all, but I feel like I want to bring it up because 5 colors.
Because it's a 5-color deck, but I wouldn't consider it like a good stuff commander.
No, you still get to play many good cards.
That's very true. You get to play Lotho still. Right. I would still play Lotho.
Right, but you're playing a lot of lands in that deck. I think that deck is actually quite good. I think if you're a good pilot, that deck to me is way better than Lumra at doing lands shit, I think.
I think so too. Like it's way better at the non-interactable kind of thing because you're casting way less spells. You do have to cast Lumra over and over again too, and you have like a little bit more agency when it comes to the tech lands that you have as well. So it just gives you more options as to what all you can do. Like I think the bounce lands in that deck, like Lumra can play bounce lands, but they're way worse in Lumra.
Colorless ones are way worse.
Way worse. Yeah, being able to have access to like Simic Growth Chamber is actually huge for Wandering Minstrel.
Yeah, and Wandering Minstrel gets a 1-card win off Escape Shift, which I don't think that Lumra has an easy one. Maybe it does, and I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
It's harder because you do get like Mystic Sanctuary in Wandering Minstrel, and Lumra doesn't get access to busted stuff like that.
You get a lot more choices with the lands that you can play in 5-color rather than just mono green, obviously. So yeah, I think Wandering Minstrel is actually very good.
It's up there. Yeah, Kenrith is also a 5-color deck, but I haven't seen Kenrith Kenrith in a hot minute.
Not really. 5 mana is a ton without Jewel Lotus and Mana Crypt. That's kind of a lot to expect to play your commander ever. So I kind of see why it's seeing less play, but I do think it is still good. It's an infinite mana outlet, and I think it's the only 5-color one besides Sisay that is an infinite mana that just like straight up wins the game. Like Sisay, you have to play the chains, you have to play the bad cards, and I guess in Kenrith that's also kind of true because you have to play infinite mana thing.
That's true, because technically the infinite mana cards are bad, but you just win with infinite mana. You just draw out your opponents if you have infinite mana.
You don't need anything else. It is the win, right?
It is the win, yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
Sisay technically still needs to find stuff. If someone's Praetor's Grasped you several times, like that's never happened, you know what I mean? But like, you still have to find stuff.
Yeah, I had another one that was in my head that I didn't write down. Yeah, Super Scroll.
Oh, Super Scroll's a new one that I've been seeing a little bit of.
Yeah, I've been hearing some chatter about it. I don't know that I've really seen it anywhere a ton outside of Sam Black's brain.
Yeah, dude, Sam was talking about you can pair it with Zerda, and then all of the permanents in your deck have activated abilities. So you can't play Thought Oracle or Underworld Breach, but you can play like a bunch of things that make infinite mana, and your scroll can draw you a whole bunch of cards, and especially Zerda, that ability says draw 4 cards. So if you can reduce that like several amounts, that becomes like very efficient very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. Is it better than Kenrith though?
Honestly, I don't know if the Zerda version is better than Kenrith. I think it's interesting and neat, and I want to know more about it. I don't know that it's better than Kenrith, but like when you start reducing the ability, I think it scales better, I think.
I think that makes sense, yeah, because it's either 2 mana to draw 1 card, or it's 4 mana to draw 4 cards.
Right.
Which is better, yeah.
Right? But like, I don't know if that makes it actually good. I think it is certainly a deck that you could win games with. It's 5-color good stuff. It doesn't matter who your commander is truly. 5-color good stuff is just a good deck. And then it just depends on that deck. How deep do you go? Do you do the Zerda companion thing and then now you're not playing good cards anymore? Or do you just like 5-color good stuff and just infinite mana and whatever, and just like you're pretty good in the slop games because your commander can make 1/1s, not 1/1s, it makes walls 0/3s or whatever, which is like weirdly relevant in case you have like a Guy's Cradle or something. The removal thing is also quite nice because you can start pinging off stuff and controlling the board a little bit. So I see it. It's too slow for my tastes. I don't want to play a deck like this, but I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting direction to go. Its abilities do feel like they are a little bit more impactful than Kenrith. Like Kenrith's life gain isn't always relevant, but it is kind of nice if like there are times where like, I don't know, maybe you're in like a Necro version or something like that.
I also like the Kenrith life gain ability. It works with the Warren Soul Trader and the Squirrel combo.
I think that's what I wanted to address more than Necropotence.
Yeah, I like that because with that mana where you make like a whole bunch of mana and draw a whole bunch of cards and you lose life, you can go actual infinite with Kenrith with that combo because you can gain enough life to counteract all the lost life that you have. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think so too. And I like that Kenrith can also give things haste. Forget about this a lot, but that also does help out quite a bit with a lot of combos that like make you tap something before you end up going into anything.
Yeah. All that said and done though, for me, Sisay is the best 5-color deck by a million miles, I think personally. But when it comes to like best good stuff deck, I think it's Nick Fury because Nick Fury allows you to play the least amount of bad cards and the most amount of good cards. So I think it's Nick Fury is the best 5-color good stuff deck by a lot. And I've only seen it a little bit, but every time I've seen it, it's either impressed or like done enough that it feels like a real deck because you're just playing all the good cards.
Yeah, exactly. Oh shit, is Scion of the Ur-Dragon a 5-color good stuff deck?
Oh yeah, Scion I feel like has been picking up a little bit recently.
But it doesn't play good stuff. It plays bad stuff.
It plays good stuff and it plays 3 dragons.
It plays Corvold, it plays Prismari, and it plays Hoarding Broodlord is the other one?
No, I think it's the one that you roll and make treasures for equal to the D20.
Oh, you make treasures equal to D20. Okay,
ancient copper dragon, I think.
Yeah.
I think what the thought is you make it into a copper dragon, you roll, you make a bunch of treasures, and then you make it into a Corvold. You draw a bunch of cards with Corvold and make a bunch of mana.
On the next player's upkeep, it has to be then, yeah.
Is that what it is? What does Scion say?
It turns it into the dragon until the end step, but like it doesn't have that ability anymore. You have to wait until the ability wears off, go to your opponent's upkeep, and then on their upkeep, you can activate it again to turn it into Corvold.
Okay.
And then sacrifice all your treasures, hope you find Born Upon the Wind or Valley Floodcaller, and go off from there.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah, sure, I believe you. Is there a way that you can hold priority on some of these things and like make it into no, right?
No, because if you have to go to combat, then it's no longer going to be a Corvold then.
I was wondering if you can make it into a Corvold and then make it into the other thing over top, and then, but no, because on combat damage is when it makes the treasures off of the Copper Dragon, right?
Off of the Copper Dragon, it's either damage or attack, and by the time you do either of those with the Scion, then you can't reactivate Scion because it's the Copper Dragon. It does not have Scion of the Ur-Dragon's ability anymore.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I know I've heard some rumblings of the deck. It seems like there's a lot of good dragons recently. I feel like the Hoarding Broodline, like, But I guess it doesn't get an enters trigger with the Hoarding Broodline, right? It just becomes the thing.
Yeah,
so that's bad.
It had to do the Colossal Grave Reaver thing in order to put the Broodlord into play.
Right, yeah. But,
which meant that you had to have 2 activations of Scion that stacked. That's how that worked.
And what does Scion say? You just, at any point, you can search for it and put it into your graveyard, and then Scion becomes that until end of turn?
And then shuffle your library.
Okay, so yeah, I guess, yeah, you're making a bunch of treasures, you pass to the next turn, hopefully you make like 15, and then in the upkeep, you make it become a Corvold, sack a bunch of treasures.
Well, I guess what you can even do is you put 2 activations on the stack for the upkeep. You make it become a Corvold, you draw a ton of cards, and then you make it become a Prismari, and then it can be a Prismari, and now all the spells you cast off of the Corvold that you got, because you already sacrificed all the treasures, so you got all the cards, and now every instant and sorcery you cast from your hand has Storm.
There it is. So I guess you have to activate, and then on the first activation, you find Corvold, and then with the second activation on the stack, you sack the treasures, make the mana, and then you have it become the Prismari, and you win in the upkeep or something.
So long as you did not draw Prismari.
Right.
And now you also had to draw
Born Upon the Wind or Valley Flood Color or something else that will allow you to go a little bit.
I guess the Fae that also lets you do flash speed.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I have to see this play out a little bit more before I lock in that that's good.
I will roll, and I will roll 2, and then I will have 2 treasures and pass.
I will spend 5 mana on my dragon, pass a turn, and then die. That's what will happen with me if I play this deck.
That's what
because you tapped out 5 mana for your fucking commander.
Yeah,
and then die.
when I've seen this deck play, like last time I saw it in a tournament, it ran the Silver Dragon to try to draw a bunch of cards.
Oh, that's cool.
But you just open up so many options to get blown out, because not only is there like an opportunity for you to have to cast your thing and then pass the turn, but like if you cast Channel of the Suns, that's an insanely telegraphed thing to do, and now everyone has a very easy way to kind of counter your Scion because they just stopped the Channel of the Suns.
It seems like it's something. This is how I imagine a dream situation that it plays out. You go for a turn 1 Rhystic Study, and then you just stay alive. You stay alive, and then it's like turn 6 or 7. Everyone's got 1,000 mana. You cast a Scion. No one can really do anything about it because like you're not doing anything with the Scion until next turn, and there's more pressing shit. So you like cast a Scion, and you have Smothering Tide out, so you have like 10 other treasures, so it's no big deal. You pass a turn. You grind. It gets back to you. Or though you don't have to actually attack. You can just do that whenever, right? Theoretically, if you had a bunch of Smothering Tide treasures left over, you can just at instant speed have it become a Corvold and go over top of something in a kind of uninteractable way. So I got to imagine like that's maybe what you're doing with Scion. And then other than that, it's just like a slop deck. You're just Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, copying Shamans, doing that shit, right?
My problem with the non-Rograk sloppier decks is that it's way harder to stay alive if you don't have the cheap commander in play. Like so much of your game plan revolves around being able to have Deflecting Swat and Fierce Guardianship up, in addition to all the other free stuff that you had. Like weirdly enough, 2 free spells makes up probably 5 to 10% of your free interaction overall. And that is a huge amount of free interaction to not have 100% access to all the time, especially when it matters so frequently in the early game.
I love your math there. That was great.
I mean, I've kind of pulled those numbers out of my butt, but it feels right. Like if you only play 10 pieces of free interaction, 10% of your deck is free interaction.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 of those pieces be out, now only 8% of your deck is interaction.
It's free interaction. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's like a meta pick. Like if your meta doesn't have a lot of turbo, this feels a lot better. This deck feels a lot better, right? Because if you know you're playing against Ragishai and then like Slow Tim the Crom and Kinnan, I gotta imagine this deck starts to feel a little bit better. But I also wonder like those decks they can outpace you so much quicker because their commanders do something in the early game.
That's the thing. Yeah, you don't get to do anything in the early game because Rogsai is doing all of the things in the early game either.
Right,
so you don't really get to like win out in that interaction either.
Yeah. So I'm not. I don't know if I'm sold on Scion yet, but I like the idea. I like where it's going. I like what it's trying to do. I'm not locked in that it's the best thing to be doing, and I think that's another part that's probably the appeal. What are you gonna do? Fuck with Scion? There's a Kinnan player. There's a Ragishai player. Don't use your shit on Scion. It's fucking Scion, right? And then because you ignored Scion,
they just win with Underworld Breach regularly.
Win with Underworld Breach or whatever, right? So I think that's probably part of the appeal too, because I don't know, Commander's fickle like that. It doesn't really matter how you talk and how well you know your lines and your opponent's lines. Those are the most important things. And then like what your deck is like third.
As long as you know the metagame that you're playing in though too. Yeah. So
that was the one. Know how to talk, know how your opponents win the game, know how you win the game, what your deck is. Like in that order, I think is what's important,
right in there. That makes sense. Like, I wouldn't want to bring it into like a huge turbo meta, though, either.
If you're playing against Ral, Tally Roxai, I don't think you're ever winning that game.
I don't know how you win, yeah.
No slop deck is winning that game.
That's also very true, yeah. Just do your own shit and don't worry about what other players are doing.
Should we rank the best 5-color decks in cEDH quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Number 1 for me, I don't know if it's for you, Nick Fury.
Nick Fury, yeah.
Number 2 for me, best good stuff. I'm going to say Sisei Clam Chowder is the number 2 best good stuff deck.
I will say that too, yeah.
Because it does something. Ezio doesn't actually do anything. It's just cheap. And I think 1 more mana for the ability to maybe turn your Smothering Tithe treasures into Teferi once in a while. That's good.
Which is why I think we should say Najeela is still number 3, because you can still play a lot of no bad cards, and it's a combo piece in the command zone that only relies off one other card in order to win the game, whereas a lot of the other 5-color decks that are combo pieces or game finishers need you to have an infinite mana combo, which is always 2+ cards.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I agree with that. Yeah, I think Najeela is probably 3. And then like Ezio and Essica, I think are the 4 and 5.
Because they're just worse Nick Furies,
They're just worse Nick Furies, and like they do something. But
before Nick Fury, I would have put them above Najeela, but now that they're just worse Nick Furies and not really helping like a specific part of the game plan, I think Najeela at least offers you something better in that I can play Derevi and win the game that way.
Right, yeah. Although you have to play Derevi in your turbo deck, which stinks. But
it's a 1-card win condition.
I think that's fine.
I think that's fine. Oh, I have to play Intuition in my blue farm deck.
I think also just like Najeela being easier to cast than Essica, I think that's something.
That's also great.
Red and 2 generic is easier to cast than green and 1.
In a 5-color deck, I will always rather try to find red mana, especially in a good stuff build that's trying to Underworld Breach quickly, than you find green ever.
I agree. So yeah, I think Najeela's 3rd, which is kind of strange just because I feel like I don't see Najeela a ton.
Well, because if you're playing 5-color, I feel like you're going towards Nick Fury if you want to do a good stuff build.
Oh, you know what? The Turtles might be better than Ezio and Essica also, just because they're partners.
Because they are, yeah.
I think they're better too.
Because they're partners, yeah, and they actually provide board presence.
And then Scion's last. Sorry,
and
Scion lovers.
Scion's number 5.
Cool deck. I don't think it's
still
good.
a cool deck, yeah, but I'm a seeing is believing kind of guy, and I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it just yet.
No.
Any other 5-color things you want to talk about?
I think that's all that I have to say.
Got him, right? Let's lights out.
Lights out. Oh man, that sounds like something that a professional wrestler would say.
Yeah, I agree. I have no good commentary for that. I was gonna say one of my favorite things that wrestlers say. Goldberg used to say, "Who's next?" I thought that was like the coolest thing because it was so implied that he was gonna win. So his only thing that he cared about was who was next. I don't know why. I think like it's cool.
I don't know Goldberg. Isn't he?
He's like a football player.
Isn't he the guy that made his own TV show then called The Goldbergs?
No, I don't know. I actually don't understand. I don't get the reference.
You never saw The Goldbergs?
Is that a real show?
That's a real show.
I thought we were doing like no, that's Roseanne or something. I was like, fuck, I don't know enough about this.
No,
to
that's
add an extra.
Roseanne.
All right, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you like sports directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Douse, Apex of War, Handedly, The Asian Sage, Mac the Mad, Seabass, Not Careth, Bob the Skull, E, Davisher, Abyss A, Peggy, E4 Cards and more, Red, Finks MTG, Wandering Around, Thresmian, Mike H, Korith, Tom Bieber, TKS69, Nathan Cohen, Josh Legat, Mr. Derby, Okitoad, Penguin Man 0089, David Newman, Johnny Denver Omelet, Rocky Halls, Pat Fires, Will Kill, Spangler, Lushany Roars, Sparky B, S.C. Phillip, Olden Groupie, Zach Hartley, Reactive, Sean on the Ice, The Works 472, Gare Bear Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Demon of Rosgreaves, Peter Stewart, Uncle Butts, Duke Luke Quajay, Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Dragon Shield supports the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off.
You can follow us on the internet for more content.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time. $50 patrons, them as well.
David, Lumi, Devin Morrow, Carpet Angel, Turtle 99, Sharticus, Max McComber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteet, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.